What's up, y'all? It is Monday morning. OMG, I'm so glad to see ye. Welcome to another Monday Mindset Movement. We are so glad to be here this morning. I'm so glad to be here. Oh my gosh. Marcia or Marsha, glad to see you this morning. Hey Jeff, how you doing this morning? Johnson, glad to see you this morning. Oh yeah, if you are here, just go ahead and just give me a shout out in the comments so I can shout you out. How you doing? Josephine, good to see you this morning. Marcus Markets. Yeah, I guess that's some of the Instagram names. Good to see y'all this morning. I'm so glad that y'all are here. Welcome to another Monday Mindset Movement, the 15 to 20 minute show where we give you a little bit of elevation, inspiration, and motivation designed to get you rocking and rolling through your week. OMG, we're going to rock and roll. We're going to enjoy this today. If you want to know when we're going live, do me a favor. Text Go Live, one word, GOLIVE. Text Go Live to 24055-STORY. That's 240-557-8679. Michael Jackson, what's happening, my brother? Hey, Gerald Solution Man, how you doing this morning? Good to see you today. What are our questions? What are our questions for today? So here's the question. How do some people always seem to be in the position to win? How do some people manage to wake up early every morning and perform a success routine so easily? And are some people just more motivated than others? Let's talk about that today. Let's do it. Here we go. Come on. Hey y'all, welcome to the Monday Mindset Movement. If you want to get the old episodes or just interact around the Monday Mindset topic, head on over to MondayMindsetMovement.com and join us in the Monday Mindset group. We're going to be having some great conversations there over the next few weeks. Oh yeah, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be good. My gosh, I'm so glad that y'all are here this morning. This Monday morning in the United States is a Monday morning, or it's a day of memorialism for us, and we'll take a quick moment of silence in a little bit for that. But I just want to really share with you that in spite of all the things that have happened, we continue to press on. In spite of all the things that happened, continue to be resilient, continue to move forward, continue to focus, continue to lock in on your greatness, continue to lock in on your goal. And that's why we do this show this week. So let's take a quick moment of silence for those that passed on 9/11. Oh my gosh. Yes. Wow. So let's talk about a race. Let's talk about a race, a really quick race. This morning, I want to talk about this race here. If you've ever seen or heard the story of the tortoise and the hare, you know what happened. There was a hare, or rabbit, whichever one you want to call it, that challenged a tortoise to a race. And he challenged the tortoise to the race because he knew he could win. He was just faster. If you have seen turtles or tortoises, they're not that fast. They're pretty slow and they just kind of move methodically. And so this hare knew that he could win. So he's challenged the tortoise to the race. And the morning of the race, they said, on your mark, get set, go. And this tortoise starts and is just plodding forward, and the rabbit looks at him, or the hare looks at him and starts to laugh, and then waits for him to get up a little sizable lead and then takes off. And this hare takes off, and he's so far ahead that he decides, you know what, I'm going to stop at this restaurant and chill out and eat some lunch or eat some breakfast. And maybe I'll have some lunch too, because by the time that tortoise gets here, I'll just be able to jump out of my booth and get to the finish line before he does. And as a matter of fact, the rabbit, I'm getting my animals mixed up. The hare eats, and after he eats, he decides, you know what? I'm feeling a little bit tired. And he decides he's going to take a nap. So he takes a nap, and while he's taking a nap, this tortoise comes moving slowly by and continues and continues. And after a little while, the rabbit wakes up, the hare wakes up because he hears cheering in the background. He remembers, oh my gosh, I'm in this race. And he starts running towards the finish line, and he keeps running, he's running, and he gets closer to the finish line, and he sees the tortoise just ahead of him, just about to cross the finish line. He starts to run as fast as he can, but he can't catch up, and the tortoise crosses the finish line before he does. So you've heard this story before. And this story has quite a few different lessons in it, right? So one lesson is that lesson of slow and steady wins the race. Continue to be consistent, right? That's one lesson inside of it. But here's the other lesson that I want to pull out of this. And that is that lesson of small steps. If you think about the tortoise, if you think about the turtle, whatever you want to call it, and you look at the gait, or you look at the size of its steps, the rabbit was able to move much faster and have longer steps, but this tortoise has small steps. And the small steps don't get you as far, and they don't get you as fast, but they get you, right? They move you forward. That's the thing that I want to bring to us this morning. When we talk about success, when we think about success, a lot of us internalize success as being only one way. And we see success as this thing that only some people achieve, and some people who have the resources and the silver spoons, we see success as that. How are you seeing success this morning? I had a great conversation this weekend with someone, and they were talking about being unhappy in their current space, in their current job. Right? How many of you know that feeling? Go ahead and type yes if you have ever had that feeling, if you've ever been in that space where you're unhappy in your current space. You're just kind of swirling around. You're not feeling accomplished. You're not feeling focused. Right? CK Ministries says yes. Hey, Cynthia Keel, how you doing? Judith Schneidman, how you doing this morning? Good to see you. Right? And so here's the thing that happens. A lot of people, in spite of the fact that they're in this space where they're unhappy, where they're discouraged, where they're bored, they're just there doing soul-sucking work, I call it. But that soul-sucking space for them is still warm and comfortable. Right? So I'm talking to this person, and this person is telling me how they are in this job and they've been there for a little while, and it's my gosh, they absolutely hate it. It's soul-sucking work, and they know that this is not the place that they're supposed to be. So I asked them a question. I said, what is it exactly that you want to do? Where do you see yourself if paying bills and all of that wasn't an issue? What would you want to do? And they told me what they wanted to do. They told me what they saw themselves doing, or how they saw themselves serving the world. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. And then I asked another question. Robert asked questions. I said, well, what stops you from doing that? And their response was, well, I don't feel motivated. I'm just kind of in this space where, I don't feel motivated to do it. And I asked this other question. Yes, Robert asks questions. I said, what is motivation? And their response to me was, well, motivation is this feeling, this feeling that pushes you forward. And I said, wrong answer. Motivation is not a feeling that pushes you forward. Motivation is like momentum. It's what keeps you moving forward once you started moving forward. Mm. You see, a lot of us are sitting and we're waiting for a feeling. We're waiting for an emotion. We're waiting for an inspiration. We're waiting for a push. We're waiting for this thing, this magical thing to happen in order to spur us to action. And that magical thing, it exists. Oh, it exists. But that magical thing is right here. It's a decision that you make. And a lot of us have thoughts. We've got these thoughts about moving forward. Yeah. Yeah. But we're like the rabbit. Sometimes we move in spurts. We move fast and then we stop and then we take a nap or then we take a detour or we feel like we've gotten up to speed. And because we're moving at a certain pace, we kind of get comfortable there. And here's the thing. Sometimes we distract ourselves or we deceive ourselves because we think that because we're moving, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. But sometimes once you reach a certain space, once you reach a certain level, even if you're moving at the same speed, then are you really moving towards the place that you need to be moving? Right? And the issue for some of us is that we have thoughts about moving forward, but we don't actually move. And then we move, and again, we get comfortable at the speed at which we're moving. And that becomes, when we get comfortable at that new speed, that becomes our new comfort zone. Right? And we think that just moving one time towards a goal is satisfactory and it's going to sustain us long term. That's the challenge. That's the challenge, right? Sometimes we have this idea, we have this goal, and we decide that we're going to go to the gym and we work out feverishly for a week. And then we stop and we get discouraged because we feel like, oh my gosh, I worked out for a week. Why am I not still muscular 6 months later? Right? I worked out and I did my diet for a week. Why did I gain weight 3 months later? Well, here's the deal. That one movement, that one time movement doesn't sustain long term. Imagine driving a car and pressing the accelerator one time and expecting the car to keep moving. Right? Yeah, so I mean, that may work going downhill, but it's not sustainable. But Robert, success and progress seems so overwhelming. Well, yeah, it is. It is. So before I was even a teen, I remember hearing this term about how you achieved success, about how you achieved discipline. And that term was willpower. And I remember feeling like some people just had more willpower than others, right? And if you didn't have enough willpower, you were doomed for failure. You were just going to fail. But here's the thing: I misunderstood willpower. I misunderstood willpower. So what exactly is this willpower thing, right? So if you think about, imagine being in a hot desert. Not desert, desert, 1S, right? And you're trying to survive with just a bottle of water. How do you survive as long as possible? Do you drink the water up front, get as much of the liquid inside of you as possible? Or do you wait as long as possible until you feel thirsty or until you'll need it? And then you drink all of it then. What do you do? Well, if you speak to survivalists, one of the things that they'll tell you is that dehydration is the worst thing. And dehydration comes whether you sometimes when you don't even recognize it. And so they recommend that you sip a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. And willpower is just like that. We've got these reserves of willpower, and sometimes we use them all up at once. And then other times we don't get to the point where we can use them because we get dehydrated before that. Right? And willpower is this thing where if you decide that you're gonna wait, and you're not gonna prepare yourself, then you get to a place where you're trying to perform an activity, or you're trying to do something at that time when it's necessary to do it. You're trying to go to the gym, or you're trying to lose weight, or you're trying to change your job, or you're trying to invest or do something in a relationship. You're trying to get better as a person, and you're trying to do it under emergency circumstances. At that point, if you don't have enough reserves of willpower, it becomes challenging, right? And the willpower is depleted by quite a few different things. Willpower is depleted by effort. I was reading this book, Mini Habits by Stephen Geis. Right? As a matter of fact, I've got a quote here. It says, "Intention without action harms self-confidence," by Stephen Geis. And I was looking through that book, and he says that the 5 main causes of willpower depletion are effort. Right? You're trying, and it gets harder. And so you begin to lose willpower. It begins to be depleted. That's number 1. Number 2, perceived difficulty. You see something, you're like, oh my gosh, that's hard. And so that depletes willpower. Number 3, emotional distress. You already have a lot of emotional stuff just going on, and you're depressed and you're saddened by that. Number 4, mental fatigue. Not necessarily that you have bad things going on, but you have a lot of things going on, and now you're just mentally drained and tired, and so your willpower is weak. And then this last one is interesting: blood glucose levels. So physically, you don't have enough energy. You don't have enough body energy inside of you. You don't have enough blood glucose to really allow you to have that mental capacity for willpower. That's something that depletes it. So there are all these things that can pull from our willpower reserves, right? So how do you successfully use willpower? Well, a little bit at a time. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, if I've got this goal that I'm shooting towards, then instead of trying to do it in big steps all at once, especially if you're just starting out, do it a little at a time. You want to create success, do it a little at a time, right? Forward movement is forward movement. All right. So some of us, let me say some of us instead of just you. I don't want to point at you because I'm in this number. So one of the things that I do quite often, and I fight through it, is I have this initial response in comparing myself to someone else. We look online, we look on Instagram, I'm a professional speaker, and one of the things that I fight through is comparing myself to other professional speakers, their level of success. And sometimes I have to recognize that, okay, yeah, they've been in the game 30 years. Yeah, they've been in the game 25 years, and you've only been in it 7. And so in setting my goals, or in feeling how I want to, feeling the things that I need to feel, or in assessing or evaluating myself or evaluating my success, I've got to take that into account. Right. So as we think about success, I want us to think of, instead of comparing ourselves to others, compare yourself to who you were a minute ago. I say that because I want us to lean into this idea of small steps. Are you willing to take a small step, even though you're dissatisfied, or you're waiting around for some stuff? Are you willing to take one small step? And here's what I want you to think about, right? A lot of times when we think about goals, we think about these big things. These big actions. If I ask somebody what is something that they can do to move towards their goal, they often think about these big steps. Same step with this that was the same thing with this person that I spoke with this weekend. But if you want to really move towards success, I want you to think about what is something small that is more than I'm doing right now that will push me towards my goal. Several years ago, I was hanging out with a friend. We were doing masterminding together, and he talked about doing 1,000 push-ups in a day. Now, if you think about doing 1,000 push-ups in a day, that's like, oh my gosh, 1,000 is a big number. That's huge, right? And if you think about doing 1,000 push-ups in a day, it seems like something that's of this great magnitude. It's almost impossible to do. Seems like a lot. But if you were to break it down and realize that if you had 10 working hours, right? Doing 1,000 push-ups per day is 100 push-ups per hour for 10 hours. Okay? If I were to break that down even further, that's like 25 push-ups every 15 minutes. Okay, I can do that. If I were to break that down further, that is 10 push-ups every 7 minutes or something like that. Right? Can I do 10 push-ups in 7 minutes? Yeah, if I were to break that down even further, that's one push-up every 50 seconds or so. Can I do one push-up? Of course, I wouldn't sit there and every 50 seconds get down and do one push-up, but I would say, oh my gosh, I can do 10 push-ups in 1 minute. I can do 10, and can I repeat that 6 times for an hour? Can you break down the large thing into something small? And sometimes when we are moving towards a goal, instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to work out every day this week for an hour. I'm going to do P90X right now. I'm going to do 75 hard right now. If you've been sitting on the couch the entire time, if you've been sitting on the bench the entire time, why not say, okay, you know what? I'm going to do 10 jumping jacks in 2 minutes. Right? What is something small that is more than you're doing right now that's going to push you towards your goal? Let's land the plane right here. I like to give some action steps at the end of each session, at the end of each Monday Mindset Movement. So what are your actions for this week? Well, here's the thing. Here's what I'd like you to think about. I want you to think about one area of your life that you want to change or where you want improvement. And then I want you to write down something small that is more than you're doing right now that will push you towards a goal in that area. All right. So I want to repeat those. Think about one area of your life that where you want change or improvement, and then write down one small thing that's more than you're doing right now. That one small thing has to represent a little bit of a stretch. It's got to represent a little bit of discomfort. It's got to represent movement from where you are right now. Okay? So think about one area, write down something small, and then here's step number 3. Here's the third thing that I want you to do. I want you to do that thing immediately. What is the small thing that you can do right now, immediately? Because I want you to get an immediate win. I want you to get a win right now. Part of the reason that we don't reach the goals or the success that we want is because we don't stack up wins. And I want you to start stacking up small wins every single day. Get up, wake up in the morning. What is the thing that you can do that's going to give you a small win? Stack up small wins. Stretch yourself just a little bit. It doesn't have to be a big step. It can be a small step. Whatever it is. If you are uncomfortable in your job, if you're in a space right now where you want to move out of your career, what is the thing that you can do? Maybe you can just hop on LinkedIn and make a list of the companies that represent the area that you want to move to. Okay, that is moving forward in a small way. Okay, yep, I've made a list. I'm gonna then get a contact from each of these companies, and I'm just going to send an email, or I'm gonna send an inbox, and I'm gonna reach out to one person every day, or I'm gonna reach out to one person every week from one of these companies. What is a small step? What is something small that is more than you're doing right now that will push you towards your goal? Hey, y'all, listen. Today is Monday, and we want to shift your mindset to a place of growth, but it doesn't just start and stop on Monday. We want to encourage you to take your Monday mindset into tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Hey, be curious, make a choice, move, even if it's just a little bit. Start a movement, be a movement. Join me next week, Monday at 8 a.m. for the Monday Mindset Movement on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Hey, y'all, I want you to think about this week, and I want you not just to think, I want you to move, because remember, intention without action can actually harm your self-confidence. Make sure that you move, even if it's just a little bit. Join me next week, Monday, for the Monday Mindset Movement, 8 a.m. See you then. Peace.